your reference. So we're very excited about our program today. We hope that you'll make use of the time that we have today, which will go quite quickly. I asked the committee, the program committee, to give us sort of an overview of what they were trying to present today. And they said, lead principles encourage active participation in government, have members work to increase understanding of public policy issues, and influence public policy through education and understanding. We hope to put these into practice in this forum. Our initial, quote, fun, unquote, title was, why don't we have flying cars? I think some of you saw that announcement. In true lead fashion, though, we did go to a more formal title known as Reinventing Bay Area Transportation in the 21st Century. My thought was to examine funding, innovation, and changing the culture to see how transportation needs can be met in the coming years. With active participation, local leagues and the Bay Area League can see if transparency and accountability in public agencies transfers into social equity for the underserved and wise choices in how our public funds are invested, and if true accountability works for addressing the growing problems associated with traffic congestion, more use of public transit, and interconnectivity of transit services. I will also note in your packet, we have assembled a list of transportation agencies, both planning agencies and transportation operators, for your reference and where they're located, when they meet, how to contact them. So at this point, I am delighted to introduce our keynote speaker, Senator Jim Beall, who is the chair of the State Senate Committee on Transportation and Housing.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to talk to you. I think when I have a deal with my wife on the weekends, I have to ask permission before I get to go to places. And I said, Nancy asked me to come up to the League of Women Voters meeting and speak. And she says, well, Nancy said you're supposed to go up there, go up there. And those of you who don't know, Nancy and I got elected at the same time to the San Jose City Council in 1980, and it was kind of a landmark election where I think it was the first major city in the United States that had a woman who was mayor, Janet Hayes, who was a mentor of mine, and then also a majority of the city council were women. So I think we got up to a couple years later, 7 out of 10 members of the San Jose Council were women. And I think coming up here from San Jose, I had the experience of driving up 880. Very interesting with the potholes, the little traffic. I saw the BART trains go by me a lot faster than sometimes that I was driving. And it reflects on the California experience that we have in transportation. The public infrastructure cries out for immediate attention. Clogged freeways, greenhouse gas emissions pouring out of cars, a mass transit system that we need to expand, and it's not expanding fast enough to meet the needs. We have a challenge in California, but the truth is, we can fix this if we want to. We can. And as chairman of the Senate Transportation Committee, I'm telling you, we can't get this done. We can't do it. Now, here's what the problem is. Let's talk about numbers. I'll give you some of the overview of the state of California condition. When you look at just road maintenance in terms of state government backlog of unrepaired roads, it totals $58 billion at this time. and that's the cost to arrest, delay, repair the already deteriorated roads. And the same thing for cities and counties is $79 billion. Some cities don't even repair their local streets anymore. They just repair the major streets, and they left the local streets to continue to deteriorate. In terms of regions, how do we rank in terms of the national experience here? San Francisco, Oakland's regions ranks the worst in America. Yeah, okay. The San Francisco-Oakland region, I'll step one a little bit closer. Right now, 74% of our region's roads are rated poor, and this is by the Transportation Research Group that rates around the country the road conditions. Los Angeles is actually out of the country number 2. San Jose is number 5. And we spend $1,044 a year extra in the San Francisco-Oakland region on the average for vehicle maintenance, repairs, and tires because the wear and tear caused by crumbling and cracking roads, and that's the highest in the nation. So we have to spend extra, and I didn't count insurance and just all the other costs of delaying your trip and all those kinds of things. How did this happen? Why are our roads in such poor condition? Well, in general, it's pretty obvious. The gas tax has lost its value over time, and federal funding is not as robust as it used to be. The state gas tax is the primary revenue source for road maintenance, and it should be, because it's a user fee. It's the users pay for the operations and maintenance of the roads. The gas tax is not kept up with inflation. Its last was adjusted in 1994. That's real. 1994 was the last time it was adjusted, and has lost half its purchasing power. The revenue gap continues to grow because cars are more fuel efficient, and that means less revenue comes to fix the road. You paid more gas tax in 1994 on the average than you do today because of the fuel efficiency of vehicles. And that's not counting anything for adjusting for inflation. Not even looking at the inflation adjustment, but just based on the fact that the average vehicle gets much better mileage per gallon, so you're buying less gallons of gasoline than you did in 1994. Therefore, the gasoline tax is based on a per gallon fee. So you're paying less now, or 1994, you're paying less than more in today than you did in 1994. That doesn't work financially. I mean, think of any kind of thing you're dealing with in a financial sense that you're paying less, now than you did in 1994 than you did now. Think of that. Is there any other economic model that works with that kind of approach? I doubt it. And also there's more electric cars, and they don't pay a gas tax because they don't use gas. So they don't contribute anything towards the upkeep of the roads. The bottom line is more cars on the road, but they are buying less gas, so we're seeing the gas tax revenue not keep up with the cost and the cost of repairs. Now here's some numbers. In 2006, there were 19.6 million registered vehicles in California in 2006, and now there are 33.5 million vehicles. So more cars on the road, more wear and tear, right? According to the Board of Equalization, the drivers purchased 15.8 billion gallons of gasoline in 2006 compared with 14.7 billion in 2014. Over a billion gallons less. Now, we're working on a solution to update the state's revenue streams to ensure that all users pay their fair shares. From where I stand, based on what I said earlier about the deficit, we need between 4.5 and 6 billion to begin to reduce the backlog. And if we fund at that level, it'll take like 10 years to reduce the backlog, 10 to 12 years, to eliminate all the bad roads. Any plan that would adjust the gasoline and related car fees would need 2/3 approval in the legislature. I think this is essential that the new revenue also be protected, put into a lockbox for road maintenance so it's not diverted for any other use. If we reach a solution in this session, it will serve as an interim answer until the California Transportation Commission develops a long-term funding solution. We serve, and I serve on the Road Charge Technical Advisory Committee also, it's another role I have. And this will come up with a funding recommendation and a pilot study later this year for the Commission's consideration. They're looking at things like vehicle miles traveled, and how to have a tax that's fair and equitable and is proper in terms of socioeconomic context. So and there's a lot of issues with that. Now, even if we make our roads smooth as silk, we still see traffic congestion, and air pollution. So how do we solve this problem? How do we deal with this? And I propose that $1.5 billion a year from the cap and trade funds and an adjustment in the diesel fuel tax to fund mass transit improvements in operation. Improving and expanding public transit rail systems has a dual benefit. Now, to give an example, when BART starts rolling into San Jose, I don't know will people get out of their cars. It'll also eliminate 16,000 tons of greenhouse gases. We must also focus on expanding freight rail capacity. For example, the roads and highways between the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach are clogged with diesel trucks moving goods to warehouses and distribution points in Riverside and San Bernardino counties. These trucks generate tons of particulate matter and other pollutants. Often the trucks moving through the freeways through neighborhoods where low-income families can't afford to live. So this black carbon is being dumped in areas that have low socioeconomic status, which of course exacerbate the health condition of the children that live in those areas and other people, seniors. And this is a health hazard. Asthma is the leading cause of hospitalization for children and is the #1 chronic condition causing elementary school absenteeism. The rates of asthma are 25 to 40% higher among populations of urban children. I chaired the health committee when I was a county supervisor for 10 years, the health and hospital committee. And it was horrible to see the emergency rooms with all the little children coming in suffering from asthma attacks. Improving our trade quarters to accommodate electrified rail cars. You have one electrified rail car, it's 4,500 tons of pollution per car per year. So we get trucks off the road also. So electrifying rail is very important. I have long advocated electrifying commuter rail, like the ACE trains, Caltrain is doing this. We got the funding for that. To cut pollution and reduce headways so we can move trains faster and safer, giving commuters more reasons to leave their cars at home. Effective mass transportation increases opportunities for us and our children. Because this mass transit translates into better access for employment, healthcare, and education for our families. Transit increases the travel zone of people looking for jobs and better opportunities to get out of poverty. And I think that there's a new Harvard study that shows the single most important thing you can do to help people get out of poverty is to improve access to jobs, mainly through affordable public mass transit. This is what makes me feel enthusiastic about BART, busways, all the different transit improvements that we need to make to help our community be more economically successful. It will connect the Bay Area if we have a better network of transit. Now, a student who lives in San Jose and his family can board a BART train, attend classes in Cal. A tech worker in Concord could take BART to Silicon Valley. Just think of the expanded opportunities you're creating. Our transportation infrastructure, the Golden Gate, the Bay Bridge, BART, the freeways, they were sort of built by the previous generations who were confident in California's future. It's now our duty to protect the wise investments that they made by repairing our roads and improving our mass transit. For each dollar we invest in repairing a road, instead of letting it crumble to dust, we save $4 to $16 in rebuilding costs. So don't let the roads fall apart, because you have to pay a lot to fix them up if you get them wrong. We don't need a commission. We don't need to commission an environmental study. We don't need to do a planning study. All we're doing is repaving and repairing the existing roads. The transportation problems we face today are not insurmountable, but they are a challenge. It's a challenge that we can overcome with the support of the people. Please let the representatives of Sacramento know that you want our roads fixed and our mass transit improved, and your voices will be heard. Thank you, and I wish you all the best, and I'll answer some questions.
I watched the special session hearings that you held that had a number of bills that came before the committee, but it seemed to be pretty split vote on almost anything that came up, and then there was no particular conclusion. Can you tell us, is that going to continue, or do you take the same bills into the legislative session, or what is the status?
Well, what we're talking about here is the issue of last year we created a special session to deal with healthcare and transportation. The Transportation Committee in the Senate, which I chaired, we passed on about 8 bills. We approved them. Some of them were approved unanimously, some split vote bills. Essentially, we need 27 votes in the Senate to get a 2/3 vote. There are 26 Democrats. There are 14 Republicans. I think I counted that right? So, essentially, 27 is 2/3. So, essentially, there has to be 1 or 2 Republicans to approve it if we get all the Democrats, and that's certainly not guaranteed. You have some people in the Bay Area that, new senators that may, are sort of, we're not sure. But I'm working very hard to achieve a 2/3 vote. We are drafting a bill. It'll be a complex bill. It will be a bill that will achieve a 2/3 vote. It will be close to achieving a 2/3 vote. So when you do that kind of thing, you're going to have people that won't like everything in the bill. You know what I'm saying? You know why this hasn't been done for 25 years? I found out over the last year. Because trying to figure out all the diverse interests and opinions, it's very difficult. So it's going to be something that everything won't be pleasing to everybody. But I'm working very hard. We will have a bill in the next week or 2 that will be published. You'll be able to look at it, make comments, and so forth.
Thank you. We already have now a number of questions, so we'll shoot them at you and try to get as many in as possible. Next question has to do with the high-speed rail. What is happening with that?
Okay. High-speed rail, my committee, the Senate Transportation Committee, is required to review the business plan for the high-speed rail. We're going to have a hearing on the new business plan there. They haven't presented it yet, so we're going to wait till they present it and publish it, and then about 3 to 4 weeks afterwards, we're going to have a hearing in Sacramento on the business plan. They're required by law to produce a business plan for the high-speed rail, which includes the project scope, cost, the delivery schedule, all the details. They have to present that every 2 years under the law to the committees on transportation in the Assembly and Senate. And our mantra of the bill will be that we'll have hearings in the Senate as soon as a couple weeks go by, and we have to read the plan. In 2012, they made a very specific plan. You can go on their website and read that plan. It's a very specific plan. And then 2 years later, 2014, they did a very minor update to that plan. So they didn't really do a complete overhaul or update. I've been told that the new plan is going to be an overhaul. It's going to talk about changing the scope and delivery and cost somewhat significantly, the scheduling of projects, and that means that we're going to have a rather significant review of the plan. The commission is required to present to us. There's a statute that lists all the things they have to do. The hearing that we're having, I favor generally a plan that has more connectivity than the last plan. I'll just say that. I'd like to see the high-speed rail connect with all the transit systems better than they did in the last plan. It's not a standalone system. It's part of a statewide system of transit, and it ought to show that, and that's what we're going to try to achieve. That's the goal I have.
Thank you. Next question is, where are we on the idea that road tax should be computed by mileage driven instead of the amount of gasoline or diesel consumed?
Okay, there's a committee that's been charged under a law passed 2 years ago. It was authored by Senator Marcus Solnane. And the bill created a study committee, and I'm on the study committee. You got a member right here on the study committee. There is a study committee that's been having a series of hearings, and the first step is to do something like Oregon's doing right now. And what they're doing in Oregon is they're taking, I think, about 5,000 people, and they're doing a study of a system to charge people on mileage, vehicle miles traveled. Okay, so they're looking at that. The study in California, just to give an example, we're about to start a study also. There's a lot of issues and complications with everything from a gasoline tax to a non-gasoline user fee. And part of it is we've got to make sure everybody pays and we can collect that tax properly. So tax administration, there's other issues like privacy, technology, how you do it. So that's why they're doing a pilot study, and they're about to commence on a pilot study. They're looking for volunteers who want to sign up to have a program. And then once they do that, they're going to get the results, see how it works. And my prediction is it's probably going to be a phased-in kind of thing that might take as much as a decade to phase out of a gasoline tax-based system to some new way of financing road usage.
Thank you. Next question is, as we move to a post-petroleum carbon net zero future, how is the veterinarian preparing for mass public transportation and transportation justice future for all that helps overcome, not reinforce, the spatial apartheid?
Well, I think a lot of people are aware that I was on the Metropolitan Transportation Commission 21 years, I think, 22, 21, I can't remember. But I think I also was on the Board of Supervisors, and when I was in the legislature and the Assembly, I chaired the Human Services Committee for 6 years, which is the committee that deals with poverty. So I am particularly interested in this whole issue of how transit has to be made available for people to expand what I call the job bubble. The job bubble is the zone of opportunity for people to get to and from a job. So if you look at it this way, And there's a new study by Harvard. They did a big study on this. They studied this very extensively. It just came out like a few months ago. Very good study. They say that expanding the job bubble by building more transit from residences of poverty zones to job locations, and allowing that access to improve, expands the opportunity in a place where it has the most immediate impact on reducing and eliminating poverty. Okay? Of course, there's other things you have to do with poverty. You know, it's not a simple thing. But I think if you want to look at just the transit opportunities, you have to have transit available for people in these areas, and we should judge our decision making and make the decision making that we make about what routes we pick and what priorities we give based on the added benefit of eliminating poverty. Now it's become a known thing that you can eliminate poverty, but I'm not talking about just rail, I'm talking about buses, other kinds of transportation for people, and making it is so much more affordable for a family if they can have a trip to and from job by transit than having to own a vehicle or car. So all that savings, that net savings, will go into their pockets for food, housing, and all the things they need to have successful lives. So in terms of allocation of money, I think social factors have to be a high priority.
Thank you. Next item is, what is your view of the benefits, impacts, and regulatory needs surrounding the ride-sharing industry?
I have a feeling about the ride-share industry. I think they have to be put within the context of a complete transit and transportation system. I think that, for example, I'm a believer that if you're running a commercial enterprise, you should be given a commercial license. You should have regulation that's applicable between all different forms of ride sharing, whether it be jitneys, taxis, other kinds of ride sharing. It should all be the same. I think that right now there isn't that equitable kind of nature to it, and that needs to be adjusted. I support those kinds of ride-sharing programs. They're very important to our system of transportation. We're evolving into some disparate laws that we have to upgrade and modernize based on ride-sharing. So we're having a hearing later this month combining the Senate Transportation Committee and the Public Utilities Committee on this subject. So it's going to be an informational hearing. I think on the 17th. I think we're scheduled now. We're on the 17th in the afternoon.
Thank you. What can you tell us about the governor's budget, and what does it provide for transportation improvements? Another question says, were you in office when Governor Schwarzenegger removed funding out of the budget? Tell us about that.
Okay, Governor Brown has presented a budget, and Governor Brown basically said he wants the legislature to come up with a plan for transportation funding. He presented the same plan he had last year, which is okay, but I think when you look at how many years it would take to reduce the maintenance backlog, you have to really look at that, because if you don't fund enough money, you're simply going to keep the status quo and never get to a point where you're adequately repairing all the roads. So I think that's the question I would have regarding his initial plan. I think it does also solve this. It kind of works for the state highways, his plan. The cities and counties, it's inadequate. And what happens when the cities and counties don't have enough money to do their road maintenance, what happens is when they do their, like we were talking to somebody about the half-cent sales tax, for example, that counties are now attempting to pass. What they do is they have to have more and more of their money from that source put into road repairs rather than into, transit or other kinds of priorities for the community. So because you're inadequately funding the road repair part of the budget. So if you really truly believe in a user fee approach for road maintenance, the people that use it more, like I always say, I drive 25,000 miles a year, I buy gasoline. I think whatever we do, I should pay more than my mother, who's 89. She drives 1,500 miles a year, so why should I pay the same as her, right? And if I do, she's not going to like that. I come from a family of 9 brothers and sisters, so 3 of them are engineers too. So we have like wild discussions about at the dinner table at Mom's house. So I think it's very important that equity in terms of who pays. That's why the user pay system for transportation road repairs is always the most important thing to have, and not have the sales tax. So if you have the sales tax, it's that relationship between how much money you buy in terms of sales and your road use. And guess what? The sales tax is a regressive tax. It's a regressive tax. It hits the poor in a higher percentage than it does other people, percentage-wise of their income. So it's inappropriate to use the sales tax or depend more and more on the sales tax for a source for road repairs.
Thank you. Now, I do remember in your hearings the issue came up about what was the appropriate use of cap and trade funds, and that tended to be for those things that were related to greenhouse gas emissions and not to road repairs. I mean, there were some proposals to do that. Here's another question about, would you support a fuel extraction fee to pay for infrastructure?
Felix, I assume you mean tax the drilling wells, oil. Yeah, I have supported that. I voted 3 times for that bill. It doesn't get approved. Requires 2/3 votes. I think if we want to do something like that, it's got to be done through an initiative process because it's been tried 3 times in the legislature as long as I've been around. That has failed every time. I voted for it every time, but it doesn't seem to be able to get the 2/3 vote. I wanted to say that I forgot to answer one question about the Schwarzenegger period. And when I became a legislator in 2006, I started December of 2006, the budget was $104 billion general fund. In 2011, it was $84 billion. So it went from 104 to 84. It's not going the right way. And now it's going back up, so we're in the 120, 118, depending on what you say. Well, at the time when it was 84, what happened is we passed bonds right before the budget started going south. Remember, we passed a transportation bond. It was a $20 billion bond. The general fund pays for that because it's a GO bond. So what happened was in 2011, there was a shifting of the bond debt service from the general fund to the truck weight fees, and money was taken that was normally going to road repair and road funds, and shifted over to truck weight fees, was shifted over to pay off the transportation bonds. So the result was that about $1 billion was shifted out of road repairs in 2011. It was simply a budget balancing kind of situation, how to balance the budget, because we were, talking about options like closing colleges down or reducing, telling students they have to graduate because we have to reduce the schools, and then we had this other thing with the one part of the budget kept going up, and that was the prison budget, because we have a federal judge telling us we have to spend more money on the prison, so we have some part of the budgets that are uncontrollable. So I think what I'm proposing now and what I'm talking about now is to return the late fees now that things have gotten a little bit better to go back to the road repair fund. And I'm trying to get at least half the money back now and maybe the rest over the next 5 years. So that's what we're proposing. Somebody asked that. We're also proposing a constitutional amendment that would, and I said in my remarks, to lock in whatever resources we approve into a only can be used for roads and road repairs, okay? So it can't be taken for other purposes. So.
Thank you. Here's another quick question. What are your thoughts about investing some of the cap and trade funds on free youth bus pass programs in low-income areas?
Yeah, I've supported that. I remember when I was on NTC, I supported the concept of giving, it was AC. Yeah, you came to me. This guy right here. He met with me and talked to me about that, remember? And we approved some bus passes for the kids in Oakland to get to school, so it's free. So we give them 2 bus passes. I support bus passes for low-income people. You heard what I said earlier, access to jobs, the kids should, we just simply need to support that kind of thing. I support it. I support transit operations as well, and that means we have to have money to repair, the existing equipment they have. BART needs new cars. There's all these needs in terms of equipment repair, so I support that also.
Yes, thank you. I think that will conclude our questions for the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.